welcome back to another episode of NAMI Maine Talks. My name is Ambrose Ward, and I'm our marketing and media specialist here at NAMI Maine. I am pleased to introduce Christy Gardner, executive director and founder of Mission Working Dogs. Christy, thank you so much for being here.
You're very welcome. Glad to be able to be here.
Awesome. So today's episode is focused on the importance of canine companionship. Um, as we know throughout history, uh, our connection with dogs started thousands of years ago, with our ancestors giving scraps to wolves who would stay around camps of early humans. They've been such a prominent part of our history ever since the hunter and gathering area into the medieval times, where we can see them really immortalized in literature and paintings and statues all across Europe and Asia. Um, and as we know, a lot of our most common dog breeds that we have today are really popularized and kind of are there because they were bred for a specific purpose, whether it be guarding a homestead or a farm, or alerting someone of intruders, or something as simple as even taking care of rodents that were taking hostage a farm. um, but dogs are so important to who we are as a species, as humans, and they have such a strong connection with our physical and mental health. And that's something that we'll get into today with Christy. So now it's very, very common for you to see someone who may be impaired visually to have a seeing eye dog walking around with them. Some dogs even now have a sense that they can tell when a person's blood sugar is dropping, and they will alert them. Um, but we have this difference between a service dog and a therapy dog. And Christy, I was wondering if you could kind of talk about what it means for a dog to be a working dog, and maybe if you could kind of clarify the difference between a service dog and a therapy dog.
Sure. There's actually dozens of different kinds of working dogs.
Hmm.
So whether you're talking like military, tracking, search and rescue,
Hmm.
bomb detection, but then of course like medical service, we think of, like you said, guide dogs, hearing alert, diabetic alert. There's even cardiac alert. They're working now with dogs trained to sniff cancer and find
Oh,
cancer in people as well.
mhm.
And then, of course, therapy dogs, which are for the emotional benefit of community groups. And then emotional support animals, which are meant for the mental health or emotional benefit of a single individual.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so we know that dogs are kind of throughout history, they have this connection with humans where they're very much a service animal and they can do so much. As you mentioned, they can be used in the military, they can be used for search and rescue. Um, but we have a bunch of work where most common we see in mental health, we see a lot of therapy dogs. We also see a lot of therapy dogs, I mean, service dogs as well. Um, but I'd love to get a sense of the work that you guys do at Mission Working Dogs. So, could you give us a brief history about how your organization kind of started and took off?
Yeah, sure. So I was actually injured overseas in 2006.
Mhm.
So I have a brain injury, spinal cord injury. I'm missing both legs, as well as PTSD, of course, from
Yeah.
everything that happened. And so it was recommended while I was rehabbing on active duty that I apply for a service dog. And that was kind of my introduction to service dogs way back then.
Mhm.
And I was paired with Moxie. She was an incredible golden retriever that did primarily mobility assistance and seizure alert response.
Mhm.
Um, I have epilepsy now from my brain injury.
Yeah.
So she was incredibly crucial with that and me getting back independent again and living my life to the fullest. And then I started working for a local Labrador breeder, and people would reach out, or programs, service dog programs would reach
Mhm.
out looking for puppies that met their standards, that could be trained to do work for people. And so they taught me how to temperament test for puppies. And then I became a puppy raiser, which is typically what the first year of their life is. They live with a civilian puppy raiser and somebody that helps them through the basics before they go on to another year of formal training. So I was a puppy raiser for 10 different dogs. But at the same time, I was training for track and field for the Summer Olympics or
Mm,
Paralympics.
yeah.
And I was out in California at the Olympic Training Center when the pandemic hit.
Oh,
And so everything got shut down. You couldn't go to the gym, you couldn't leave the home, like food got delivered to the door.
yeah.
California was extremely restrictive on our
Mhm.
ability to go out in public. And so, I waited it out a little while, but as the pandemic got worse or shut down more things, it just didn't seem worth it to stay there anymore.
Yeah.
I had a house here in Maine where I had a yard I could throw shot put in. I had a great home gym I could train at. So it just didn't make sense to stay trapped in my apartment in California when I
Yeah.
had other alternatives here in Maine. So I came home. I drove across the country. I picked up a little golden retriever puppy at a rescue in Phoenix. He was 5.5 months old. And I no sooner got back home in Maine, you hit that 14-day quarantine that they had back then.
Yeah.
And the Labrador breeder came to my house and dropped off a puppy and said, "Here, train this puppy for a veteran in need." And I was like, "Well, shoot, now I've got two puppies to train." When I was a puppy raiser, there's such a need in Maine that I could never keep up with it.
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, let's make an actual foundation and let's give it a go." So we did. We formed in July of 2020. We
Mhm.
got incorporated that fall as an official nonprofit. And we started our program with 4 dogs and like $9,000 in bottles and cans. Uh,
Yep.
so Mission Working Dogs trains service dogs for mobility assistance, so severe mobility impairments,
Mhm.
as well as PTSD, and then therapy dogs for the community. And so we're up now to, I think, 116 dogs in our program,
Oh, wow.
including the 18 puppies that are here right now. And we've got 61 graduates of our program so far.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited because we've just partnered with 2 fire departments to potentially provide them with therapy dogs for the department as well.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. So, you've given us kind of this history of not only yourself and your connection with therapy dogs and service animals, but also your foundation. Can you kind of tell us about what is the core mission that you guys have as an organization?
I mean, obviously, it's to help as many people as possible. Like I said, I completely underestimated the need for qualified service dogs in Maine.
Mhm.
But there's also a huge misconception on what these dogs are, what their rights are. A lot of people think, "Oh, I'm disabled, so this dog that makes me feel good is my service dog." But
Yeah.
that's not actually how it works. Um,
Mhm.
the under Maine state law and kind of under the ADA, a service dog must be trained to mitigate your disability in public.
Hmm.
So if you have PTSD and the dog is trained to fetch things like that you drop, that's not really relevant to your PTSD. They
Yeah.
would have to do a skill that's actually specific to your mitigating your PTSD symptoms and do it in public in order to have public access rights.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's kind of a lot more to it than the average person thinks.
Yeah.
Um, but I kind of forgot where we were going with that.
You're okay. No, that's very interesting. And can you kind of I never really knew, I mean, especially with these people with PTSD, you had mentioned we're not training a dog to go and fetch something, we're someone who has PTSD. What are you training a dog to do for someone who may be suffering from that?
So it depends on your individual symptoms. Like
Mhm.
I said, the average dog goes through basic training for its first year, and
Mhm.
then it really gets tailored to the recipient in the second year of training. We think of it as kind of like doggy college, where you've hit your
Mhm.
prereqs in the first year, and now you're taking the real meat and potatoes of your training. So our average client with PTSD might need some grounding. So we teach like deep pressure, 3 or 4 different deep pressure therapy movements. We also teach a command we call watch, where the dog is actually trained to watch your back and nudge you if a person is approaching. So when you hit like a 10 or 12 foot buffer, the dog will actually nudge you and say, "Hey, somebody's coming up about 10 feet behind you."
Oh, wow.
So those are some great skills that we can teach. We also teach them to turn on and off the lights. If I
Mhm.
wake up from a night terror and I'm in a hotel room or something somewhere, the dog can actually go hit the lights so I can reorient to the space,
Yeah.
um, kind of bring down that panic part.
Yeah. That's really impressive. It is so impressive to see the work that these dogs can do for their human companions. I know I'll have to find the link to it and add it to the description. But I know that I've seen some there's a person on social media who has a service animal, and they suffer with schizophrenia, and they'll do something similar where if they're having this hallucination, they can tell the dog go greet, and if it doesn't go and greet the person, then they know it's a hallucination. And I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot they can do that way. Even for agoraphobia, helping you slowly get out, to your yard, to back into the community in
Hmm.
safe and quiet spaces, but also training the dog to exit to a safe space.
Yeah.
So, you're grocery shopping in Walmart and all of a sudden the store gets way too crowded and you're overwhelmed. You
Hmm.
can tell the dog the command and it will escort you straight out or to your car or to a quiet corner, depending on the command you use.
That's amazing. Yeah. And so can you tell us about how do you go about training these dogs?
Believe it or not, we actually have an incredible partnership with the Maine Department of Corrections.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have dogs in 4 different prisons here in the state, and
Hmm.
the residents of the correctional facilities actually help us train the dogs. So we typically go in on Fridays and teach an in-person class with the residents, and then their dogs come out for the weekend. Then, they'll come out and be with our volunteers in public and get socialized to different public environments and practice some of their commands in these public spaces. And then they go back in on Monday and we'll recap with the residents, how it went, what they practiced, what they struggled with that needs more work. And then we actually give the residents homework and they're required to train the dogs 5 to 6 hours a day
Oh,
uh,
wow.
to make them a proper service dog. So I know a lot of people think that I'm going to get a dog and I'm going to train it to be my service dog, but it's so much harder than you think,
Oh, yeah.
especially if you're struggling with mental health. We talk in dog training that tension travels down the leash. So if you're anxious and stiff, the dog feels that.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, if you have anxiety or PTSD or other social phobias, you can actually give your dog a phobia
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's reading you and it's like, okay, what are we worried about? What are we panicking over? And it becomes hypervigilant as well.
Hmm.
So we highly recommend going through a different program, an organization, and there's, many to search for. But to find a qualified trainer that can really train the dog to do what you need it to do. Um, we've networked with some other programs and found out that a lot of the service dog programs around the nation don't offer much.
Mm.
That they train the dog to maybe do one task and it's not really totally what you need. Or we talked to another someone that went through another program locally and it's a 16-week course that they do. And the
Oh,
dog
wow.
had been paired with a gentleman, went through 12 weeks. They decided that it wasn't a great match because matching is huge. Matching is like finding your spouse or, your best friend, and it's got to be a good match or it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But the other organization did determine that it wasn't a good match. So they matched the dog with this female that had reached out to us. She did 4 weeks with it, and they said, "Congratulations, that's the end of the 16-week course." And she was like, "Oh my God, we have no bond yet. It doesn't do
Yeah.
anything I need it to do." So tasking is extremely important to actually really giving you your life back.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
And I imagine something that I've heard, we've had a person who has a therapy dog, that they work with, and something that I imagine is not only is it a lot of work for the person, but that is the dog's job. That is a lot of stress and pressure being put on the dog to really succeed and take care of who they're given charge of.
Yeah. So between matching them and making sure that they like the same things that you like,
Hmm.
like we had three, as an example, three male veterans that
Yeah.
were all Army veterans, all, white men, all put hockey as an interest.
Mm.
So you're thinking, okay, that, similar age, similar demographic, similar background, same interest. But in reality, one of them is a season ticket holder to a pro team. So this dog needs to be able to handle the environment, the energy
Yeah.
of a stadium
Hmm.
and the concessions and crowd noise and intermission and maybe the cannons that launch t-shirts into the crowd and whatever.
Yeah.
The other ones, kids play travel hockey, youth hockey. So now
Oh,
you're talking screaming children running all over the place and long hours, like all day in a rink for the whole weekend
yeah.
for kids' tournaments.
Hmm.
And then the other one is a man that plays rec level, like men's league hockey.
Oh, yeah.
So smaller rinks, colder, quieter, but it's human leaves them. Like your dog stays in the bench while you jump over the boards. You're out there grunting and sweating and panting, and the dog's got to not panic that you're having some sort of emotional reaction because you're playing
Yeah.
hockey. So
Wow.
the way we handled the three dogs is very, very different.
Yeah. No, and I really appreciate what you've been saying about, it's not only matching the human to the dog, it's matching the dog to the human. Because as we know, some breeds are a lot more lax and kind of laid back, while others need that energy and kind of crave that excitement and things like that.
Yeah, and we actually have our own breeding program, and one of the really cool things with
Mhm.
that is seeing the spectrum of personalities across the siblings.
Oh, yeah.
So think kids in a family.
Hmm.
We had three male dogs in one litter,
Hmm.
and the one male was very active. He didn't have great patience, but he was extremely good at his job otherwise.
Yeah.
So we matched him to a person who wanted to be more active. This is a type of dog that won't sit around on the couch. They're going to challenge you to get up and go do that hike that you wanted to do and get
Yeah.
out and do more. Whereas one of the recipients is a teacher. So the
Oh.
dog needed to be content to lay at their desk and wait all day until they needed something from them.
Hmm.
So definitely pairing a more laid back sibling.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, as we've kind of talked about your work, I'm wondering, um, are there any like special stories or a certain dog or a connection that was like very particularly meaningful to you?
I mean, I would say that probably they all are, especially
Yeah.
because it is our breeding program. So I deliver
Mhm.
these little babies and raise them,
Yeah.
and we start training them when they're 3 days old, and they're with us for nearly 2 years of training. Seeing the impact that the dogs make in the criminal justice system here has been incredible. It's something that I never thought I would really enjoy working in,
Yeah.
but working with that population and seeing how rewarding it is for those folks to be given the opportunity to make amends or give back,
Hmm.
but also the human aspect of it and working with folks who are incarcerated and seeing them be okay to be vulnerable with a dog,
Yeah.
sharing their emotions that way with a dog and not feeling like they're judged or anything.
Yeah.
So that's been really cool. And then, of course, just working with people that, we have people on our waiting list right now because it does take us nearly 2 years to train a dog,
Yeah.
that maybe haven't committed suicide because they have the hope of getting matched with a dog.
Mhm.
We have recipients who've said that the only reason they're still here is because they were matched with a service dog that made them not give up.
Yeah.
So hearing those kind of impactful stories, or, a dad who has PTSD and he got his service dog, he was matched, and he called one day and he was like, on the inside, I was still screaming, like super uncomfortable in the environment. But on the outside, he was able to be a dad, and he took his kids to the county fair, and
Yeah.
they were able, he was a little on edge, but he was able to be there with his kids and be a dad.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So,
so beautiful.
yeah, little moments like that are incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, as we kind of start to wrap up, I wanted to kind of talk about the importance and like the benefits that we can get from canine companionship. Something that you talked about that you've mentioned is the incarcerated populations, that they're so happy to have this experience. How have you kind of seen them kind of blossom when they get to work with these dogs and help them train?
It's been interesting both for the residents and the staff to
Yeah.
see that aspect of, they talk about the dogs softening the environment because
Mhm.
who can be really that angry around a puppy?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it kind of makes it safer for everyone.
Hmm.
But we offer the men too the opportunity to grieve because at some point we are going to take their dog away. They spend a year and a half living with this dog and helping train this dog with the knowledge that they're going to be separated at some point.
Hmm.
So some of them like to have a new dog immediately to throw themselves into and have that distraction,
Yeah.
but some of them need 2 or 3 months to grieve the change. It's a lot.
Hmm.
Um,
No.
but, but watching these guys build skills and build patience, and the residents keep journals. So
Oh
like they'll
man.
keep a journal during the week and I'll read it on the weekend and reply to their insights and stuff. And so they set goals and they have to analyze why they met the goal, why they didn't meet the goal, what were the little setbacks and stuff that we can troubleshoot.
Hmm.
But, really seeing their stories of how the dog has changed their life or made them more patient or more empathetic has been really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. And as we talk about, we have a lot of trainings out in the public and out in the community, and we talk about all the time, especially with some of our, um, we do a lot of work with some of Maine's um, classic industries. We do a lot of work with fishing, logging, agriculture, and sometimes when we speak to people who work in those industries, they're not very comfortable talking about what's going on. They're not very open about opening up to other people. But something that we say is go pet your dog or go spend time with your dog, or when you get home, go on a long walk with the dog, because that's something that gives them genuine connection and they feel like a weight is lifted off of them when they get to spend time with this companion.
Definitely. I
Yeah.
agree. There's a huge value in emotional support animals and just pets in
Yeah.
general,
Hmm.
especially a well-behaved pet that doesn't cause you extra stress and heartache. Every once in a while we've got one here that ate a dog bed this morning and I'm just like,
Oh God. Yeah.
more drama that we don't need. Um, I mean, really, anybody that has a pet and values their pet can get some mental health benefit from just petting them.
Hmm.
There's science behind the hormone release of stroking an animal and knowing that you're loved, or the pressure of them laying on your lap or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we see such a huge benefit too for therapy dogs in the community. Uh,
Mm.
so we've started putting actually a therapy dog in each correctional facility. We've got 3 in so far, with the next one promised to Long Creek Youth.
Oh,
Uh,
very
so
nice. Yeah.
it would be awesome to have a dog there for the kids.
Yeah.
But we've also put them in like police and fire departments. And,
Mm.
those are folks that go through traumatic situations almost every day,
Yeah.
sometimes more than once a day. And so to be able to have that dog there to decompress has been a huge benefit for them as well.
Hmm.
Um, we've put therapy dogs in mental health centers, um, child abuse response programs, and things like that. Because there's such a benefit to having a great, well-trained dog.
Yeah.
A therapy dog is not for an individual, but
Mhm.
maybe somebody like you would have a therapy dog that goes to the events that you go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to highlight, I'll have to find the information of the person that we've had a speaker previously who works a lot with therapy dogs and has her own therapy dog. And I love to always kind of highlight that um the dogs are so intelligent. She always talks about how she'll go to a school or something like that and she'll tell the kids, hey, our dog, I think their name is Coda. Coda is trained to kind of recognize when someone is having a bad time. And not that Coda doesn't want to say hi to everyone, but if Coda is going over to this one person, let them do their work.
Yeah. It's
Hmm.
incredible how intuitive the animals are. And we do a lot of school presentations and stuff. And a little boy in, I want to say first or second grade, once asked if the dogs could tell when you're mad. I was like, yeah, of course. And he's like, no, no, like really, really angry. And the therapy dog that I had with me that day went over and kind of just sat in his lap and snuggled right against him. It was like, so the teacher was really impressed that he could tell that the kid was needed him that day,
Yeah. Yeah.
or this is going to probably sound bad, but we were doing a presentation at the casino. We had an
Hmm.
information table and we had some service and therapy dogs with us, and they're very well trained. They're incredible animals. But the emphasis with therapy dogs is safety and control. They're
Yeah.
supposed to be always safe and under the control of the handler. And at one point, the dog ran away from me. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is not like him at all. He's like one of the laziest dogs ever. He's a giant marshmallow. And he ran around the other side of the casino to the hotel. And I got over there, and I'm a double amputee, so I'm not super fast. But he's sitting up on the couch with this woman who is absolutely sobbing.
Oh wow.
And I have no idea, there's no way he heard her over the noise of the casino floor, but she had just found out that her mom passed away.
Yeah.
So he left us and ran over there to provide comfort to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so powerful how intuitive and intelligent dogs can be, especially in recognizing things like sadness or stress or anxiety and just providing comfort and support. Hmm. Yeah. So, as we kind of start to wrap up, I was wondering, Christy, is there anything that you'd like to leave off the audience with?
Um, I don't know. I would just say if you're struggling and you're looking for potentially a psychiatric service dog, you can look at assistancedogsinternational.org. It's
Mm,
a nonprofit that's the accrediting board for all service dogs. So the groups listed there are all reputable training programs.
yeah.
So they've all gone through. We're currently candidates for accreditation, so we're not
Mhm.
fully accredited yet. That takes time and a whole lot of paperwork.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it's a great resource for people who are looking for a service dog.
Yeah.
Even if our program may not be the right fit. It's like looking at colleges. Like you've got to find the right one for you. And
Mhm.
so even if we're not the right fit for you, that is a great resource to find them.
Yeah.
And then Alliance of Therapy Dogs and Therapy Dogs International are great resources to look to see if there's a therapy dog team in your area that can come visit at an event. Or like we do a lot of nursing homes, long-term
Yeah.
care, rehab centers, and stuff like that.
Amazing.
So, to our audience, I'd just like to say, don't forget to check out the amazing work that Mission Working Dogs does. You can find a link to their website and their Facebook page in the description below. And as always, if you're looking for help or you're looking for resources, you can reach out to NAMI Maine's helpline that we have listed right here. And you can also check out our website for any upcoming trainings or events that we have. Christy, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a really good conversation.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me, Ambrose.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.